The Democratic primaries, we've got South Carolina this weekend. Joining me is James Brown, our regular US and international affairs expert and non-resident fellow at the US Study Centre. James, this is a make or break few days, isn't it, for Joe Biden? He's ahead in the polls in South Carolina, but ahead of Super Tuesday, it's crucial that he gets a good result.
He's got to win South Carolina. His campaign team have said this is where the comeback for Joe Biden starts. They've referred to South Carolina as his firewall, and he's just had an endorsement from Representative Jim Clyburn, one of the most influential political leaders in that state. He's polling at about 25%. He's really got to bring all of that home, and the contest to watch, I think, is between both Biden and Tom Steyer, who's polling very well in South Carolina, but in the other states on Super Tuesday, it's very much going to be a contest between Biden, Bloomberg, and Sanders for nearly a third of the delegates that will be needed to win the Democratic convention and nomination.
And then when you look at the result, when we look at the wash-up of Super Tuesday, obviously there's going to be so much pressure on the moderate or the Democrat who is not Bernie Sanders to drop out to basically enable the other to get some air.
Yeah, this should shake a few of the contenders loose. I mean, you'd be surprised to see Tom Steyer last beyond next week, given he hasn't amassed a huge amount of delegates. He might surprise, he might catch fire with black voters in the South. Bernie Sanders looking so strong in those western states, in California, in Colorado and in Texas. He's expected to pick up a huge amount of delegates there. And then all eyes on Bloomberg. He had a better debate performance this time. He was able to joke at his sort of poor performance in the first debate, but he still took some hits, particularly from Senator Warren, who really went hard at him on his personal character.
I want to play a little of President Trump, his announcement today that Vice President Mike Pence will lead the government's coronavirus response. Have a look.
The number one priority from our standpoint is the health and safety of the American people, and that's the way I viewed it when I made that decision. Because of all we've done, the risk to the American people remains very low.
James, there, the President playing down the concerns around the coronavirus as the markets really are copping it, as Ticky Fullerton pointed out a bit earlier.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say I didn't watch all 90 minutes of that press conference, but I did watch a good chunk of it, and the President was quite rambling, was at odds with the message of some of his health officials both before the conference and during the conference. I think there's a lot of concern now about, the fact that there are a number of unknowns with this virus. We don't know exactly how it's operating. We don't know exactly what's happening inside China and what numbers there are. And we don't know how long it will be before full vaccines are available and in the numbers you might need. The CDC officials saying it could be 12 to 18 months before there's a coronavirus vaccine on the scale you would need to do decent treatment of the US population. So a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, indeed, and the President saying the risk is low. It might be right now, but like in Australia with this emergency plan being enacted, the emergency response, the government trying to get in ahead of any formal declaration by the WHO of a global pandemic. But as we know, things can change quickly, and obviously this is a presidential election year, and it's something that the President has put quite a bit of store on, hasn't it? The fact that Wall Street has been, flying. Well, it's taken a big hit this week.
Yeah, it has. And look, I think what we are likely to see here is an acceleration of some of the decoupling from China that's already been happening for a variety of reasons, not only the President's efforts to get more manufacturing onshore and homeshore manufacturing, but also the tariff trade war that he's been engaged on, and now an awareness of the risks of having production concentrated and supply chains concentrated in China.
Yeah, very good point in terms of the broader implications on trade and just how many industries are being hit by this. I want to finish by asking you about Mike Burgess, the ASIO Director General, his national threat assessment. What did you make of it? It was an unusual scene, I've got to say, to be invited into the ASIO building as a member of the media and see many colleagues in there as well. It's not an everyday occurrence.
Look, I think it's good to see ASIO trying to engage in an above-the-line way and in a direct and transparent way. Some of the revelations of that report should be concerning to Australians. I mean, the depiction of sleeper agents lying dormant for years and being reactivated to collect intelligence on Australian national secrets and security is pretty concerning. It's Cold War stuff, but that's what's going on, and that's what the agencies are trying to combat, and that's what our Parliament needs to be aware of. And I think it's good that these issues are being put on the table squarely.